Hey, what's going on there, guys? I'm coming back to you here today with another booster box opening. So today we have a box of Dragon's Maze that we're going to be cracking on open and taking a look at. This is actually the second box of Dragon's Maze that I'm opening up on my channel. The first one was a box that I got for winning the pre-release event for Dragon's Maze. So we're going to crack this open and take a look at what rares and foils we get inside. If you guys want to purchase a box of Dragon's Maze, there is a link down below where you can check out abugames.com and you can purchase one of these. So we're going to crack this open. Already started into it a little bit. Put that back there. Kind of, maybe. We have the flyer here. We're gonna start grabbing these packs out of here. This flap does not want to stay back there. There we go. I'm gonna push that off to this side. And we're gonna get cracking here. Alright, so we have Master of Cruelties as our first rare here. We also have a foil Golgari Guildgate and a Selesnya Guildgate. So Master of Cruelties is a pretty awesome mythic with a really interesting ability as well. He can only attack alone, and whenever he attacks a player and isn't blocked, that player's life total becomes 1, and he assigns no combat damage to that combat. It's a really interesting ability, really fun for limited. I could also imagine a lot of people would be playing him for kitchen table magic as well. He's really fun. And we have Advent of the Worm, making a 5/5 for 4 mana at instant speed. We also have a foil, Give and Take. That's pretty cool. And we have a Hollowed Fountain, so we have a Shockland here for us. I'll put the foil up there. And there are Shocklands in Dragon's Maze. You can get them at about half of the ratio that you would get them out of Return to Ravnica or Gatecrash. So we'll see how many we can pull out of this box. I pulled 4 of them out of my first box, including one that I actually missed during the video. And we have a Amara Tindaris. So she's a 5/7 for 7 and prevents all damage that would be dealt to creature tokens that we control. We have a Golgari Guildgate and a whole lot of nothing else. And we have Mirko Vosk, Mind Drinker. Like I mentioned, whenever I pulled some of them from my first booster box, it's probably like my favorite name for any legendary creature. And I always liked Dimir. I liked Dimir since the original Ravnica. And it's always been like a really fun guild to play around. I really like the whole mill aspect of Magic the Gathering, so he's definitely a really cool creature for limited and just kind of casual Magic. So we have a Skylasher, Flash, Pro Blue, can't be countered, 2/2 for 2. Selesnya Guildgate. Skylasher is really interesting. Just the fact that they printed a creature that can't be countered, also has Reach and Pro Blue and Flash. It's kind of interesting. They're trying to kind of go towards something. Maybe not right at this moment, but in future sets it might be something that might be relevant at instant speed to be cast and be able to block things. It definitely works up against Delver, if anything, if Delver decks start coming back. And we have a Renegade Krasis. This was one of the cards that I pulled in my pre-release sealed pool. I didn't end up playing it though, but he's a 3/2 for 3 with Evolve. And whenever he evolves, put a +1/+1 on each other creature you control with a +1/+1. There we go. I like Dragon's Maze though. It's not the most exciting set, but it definitely still has some cool cards that I want to play with. Like Sire of Insanity. Sire of Insanity is pretty awesome. 6/4 for 6, and at the beginning of each end step, each player discards his or her hand. It's definitely a really interesting card for Jund decks to be able to just kind of put both players in top deck mode, and generally Jund likes to have the better board state in general, so especially up against slow decks like Control, Jund gets the advantage of playing Sire of Insanity. We have Renounce the Guilds. Each player sacrifices a multicolored permanent. Another interesting tech being a instant speed card for a 2. Deals with a lot of things. Things like Boros Reckoner. And we have Ral Zarek. Very, very nice. 4 loyalty planeswalker for 4, +1 taps down another permanent and untaps another permanent. -2 is a lightning bolt, and -7 flip 5 coins and take an extra turn after this one for each coin that ends up heads. Very, very awesome. I love Ral Zarek. He's actually a really awesome planeswalker. He's been floating around in the lore for quite some time, or at least not in the lore, more so that people have known about him as a planeswalker for a while, and everybody was just kind of wondering, well, when are they going to make Ral an actual planeswalker? And they finally did so for Dragon's Maze. But he's definitely a really fun planeswalker, especially for Flash variants. And we have Blood Scrivener. I like this guy as well. 2/1 for 2, and if you would draw a card while you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards instead and you lose 1 life. That's totally fine. That guy was actually pretty amazing in Limited, especially in the pre-release, because whenever you just kind of put everything out onto the table and have nothing left, it just lets you pay that 1 measly life, and you just get a huge advantage over your opponent being able to draw 2 per turn. Especially like if you draw a land and then you play land for turn and then still have something you want to play. I played against it and it's a really annoying card to play against. And we have Plasm Capture. So it's a counter spell for Simic, double green, double blue, counters a spell. And at the beginning of the next pre-combat main phase, being your pre-combat main phase that is, and you add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool where X is the spell's converted mana cost. That's pretty awesome. Where's off Guildgate? I'm paying attention to the guild gates to make sure that I don't pass up a Shockland or anything like that. Alright, so this is the last pack out of the first column here. We do have a foil that I just kind of blatantly revealed. We have Obzidot's Aid, sorcery speed, 5 cost card, return target permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. I really like this card for a Solar Flare type of feel. And we have Carnage Gladiator as our foil here, and it wears off Guildgate. So that's the first column, 2 foils. I had a lot more foils out of the first column out of my last box. Starting off into the second one here. that's just what we get here. And we have a Notion Thief, and I actually really like this card for sideboards, up against things like Sphinx's Revelation. 3/1 for 4 with flash, and if an opponent would draw a card except for the first one that he or she draws in each of his or her draw steps, instead that player skips that draw and you draw a card. That's really awesome. And Groll Guildgate and Bird. And we have Voice of Resurgence. This guy is really nuts. 2/2 for 2, 1 green and 1 white. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, or whenever a Voice of Resurgence dies, put a green and white elemental creature token with power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. This guy's not as awesome for Standard as he is for Legacy. In Legacy, it's just really awesome having it, especially in like Maverick builds. And then we also have a foil Rakdos Blood Witch. I actually really like her post-rotation, just having a potential 4/4 for 4 creature with the flying, or not flying, first strike, haste, and unleash is pretty awesome. And then each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter also has haste. Really like that. And then we have a Simic Guildgate. Voice of Resurgence is just absurd though. I really like this card for Legacy. It's alright for Standard, but I think it shines a whole lot more in Eternal formats. And then Rakdos Blood Witch is awesome as well. I definitely think that the Blood Witch has potential after rotation to be something really good. Like, of course we have things like Falkenroth Aristocrat at the moment, but afterwards having a first strike 4/4 with haste for 4 is pretty nice. And we have Ready and Willing. So creatures you control are indestructible, untap each creature you control, and creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until the end of the turn. Both of them are 3 cost. And another Simic Guildgate. Overall, like, so far this box is actually pretty good. I can't complain about it. So we'll see here. We have Plasm Capture again. We have an Is a Guildgate. I think Plasm Capture is really interesting. Also, I think it's kind of awkward with the double green, double blue, but I think it's a really interesting card to have. And we have Pontiff of Blight, 2/7 for 6, Extort, and other creatures you control have Extort. There's a lot of really good limited filler in this set. Especially as far as the rares go, there's a lot of good limited filler for that. Some of the commons aren't really that amazing. Some of the uncommons are pretty nice though. We have Zertaw Ancient, 7/5 for 5, and whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of his or to his or her mana pool of any type that that land produces. It's pretty nice. And we have Pyrewild Shaman. So 3/1 for 3, Blood Rush for 2, giving the attacking creature +3/+1. And if one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, if Pyrewild Shaman is in your graveyard, you may pay 3. If you do, you can return him to your hand. That's pretty. It's pretty interesting, his rebound ability that he has there. I definitely think that's an interesting card to have. I don't know how good it is right now. It's probably not going to see very much play right now, but I think post-rotation, it definitely does seem like something that might have some potential. These packs just kind of fall apart. And we have Possibility, Storm. This card's pretty interesting. Azorius Guildgate as well. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it, then exiles cards from the top of his or her library until he or she sacrifices a card that or exiles a card that shares a card type with it. That player may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then he or she puts all the cards exiled with Possibility Storm on the bottom of his or her library in a random order. It's such an interesting card. It's not the most amazing thing, but it's definitely something fun. And we have Render Silent. If we can get some focus there. There we go. So Render Silent counters target spell, and its controller can't cast spells this turn, so it's silence on a counter spell. I think, as far as Standard goes right now, I would still rather be playing things like Dissipate. There aren't like really any Storm decks or anything like that going on. For Eternal formats, I don't think Render Silence is terrible. If people are trying to combo off things, it definitely can hinder them, but it's a really interesting card to have. 3 cost, 1 white, double blue, counter spell with silence on top. Putrefy is awesome. And then we have another Ready and Willing, Golgari Guildgate. And 2 more packs here left in the second column. And we have Aetherling. I actually really like Aetherling. 4/5, 4/6. And for 1 blue, you can exile him and he returns to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. For 1 blue, it's unblockable. And it has 2 abilities, both for 1 generic mana. The first one being +1, -1 until the end of the turn. The second one being -1, +1 until the end of the turn. That's really awesome. Aetherling is so powerful. This is a card that I am personally playing in Standard in various builds. And it's, aside from being amazing in Limited, it has so much potential for being good in Standard. And we have Council of the Absolute. Again, camera out of focus. There we go. 2/4 for 4, and enters the battlefield. Name a card other than a creature or land card. Your opponent can't cast cards with the chosen name. Spells with the chosen name you cast cost 2 less to cast. Very interesting. And we have a foil Mirko Vosk Mind Drinker. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So 2 foil legendaries out of this box. It's pretty nice. And that was the first column, or not the first column, the second column. Now we're starting off into the third column here. Another Pyrewild Shaman. Not very many Shocklands out of here, unless I missed one, which I don't think I did. I was trying to pay close attention to it. And we have a Rourke Thar the Unbowed, 6/6 for 6, Vigilance Reach, and when he attacks each turn if able, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, he deals 6 damage to that player. We have a foil Rakdos Drake and a Azorius Guildgate. Rorik Thar is another card that's just really meaty. He's such a big, bulky guy. Just the fact that if people want to play non-creature spells, they have to take 6. It's just awesome. So they're going to have to either have a lot of really meaty creatures on the field already, or have to pay 6 and deal with them with like a Wrath effect or a spot removal effect. It's awesome either way. He's nice for mid-range decks. Gaze of Granite, or Granite. It's sorcery speed card, X, double black, and 1 green. Destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X or less. I really, really love this card. I think that's definitely a card that really catches my eye out of this set. We have a couple packs left still. Another Preacher 5 there. We have Breaking and Entering. Breaking being a mill 8, and Entering being put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and it gains haste until the end of the turn. We also have a foil Sunspire Gatekeepers, Boris Guildgate. It's funny to me how they made Breaking, and it's in a Ravnica-based set, but it's not Glimpsed Unthinkable. Like, it's so close to Glimpsed Unthinkable, but it's not quite there. It just mills for 2 less, but it has the same casting cost. And we have Scion of Vitu-Ghazi, 4/4 for 5. And it makes a 1/1, and then you get to populate if it was cast from your hand. The Scion, that is. We'll try and speed things up here. I'm going really slow through these. Sometimes I just like to look at some of the cards and just kind of silently judge them in my head of what I think about them. Trait Doctoring, sorcery speed card. Change the text of target permanent by replacing all instances with 1 color word or another, or 1 basic land type with another until the end of the turn in Cipher. Not the most amazing card, but I could see how it could have some interesting implications. It's interesting, just not amazing. We have another Skylasher, another Guildgate. And we have a Progenitor Mimic, the clone for 6 mana. Enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature, and it gains, at the beginning of your upkeep, if this creature isn't a token, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of this creature. It's ridiculous. And a foil Rakdos Cluestone. Progenitor Mimic's awesome for limited, and it seems like a pretty fun card for standard. I don't know about right now, but maybe sometime in the future. And we're just nearing the end here of this box here, so we only have just a few loose packs now. Another Gaze. It's in the Guildgate. It seems that you get a lot of doubles out of the rares in these boxes. It is a small set, but it's something that I've noticed. We have Teysa, Envoy of Ghosts, 4/4 for 7 vigilance protection from creatures. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, destroy that creature. Put a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Awesome for EDH. We have a foil Boros Cluestone and a Simic Guildgate. Now I'm getting all the foils. And we have, what, 2 packs left? Yeah, 2 packs. we'll try to wrap this up here. Took a little bit of extra time on going through this one, but also kind of analyzed things as well. And we have a Rakdos Blood Witch, and is it Guildgate? Did I already pull a regular one? I think I pulled a regular one. I want to say that I did. I can't even remember. I know I pulled that foil one too. I guess it doesn't matter. No, I don't think I pulled a... No, I didn't pull a regular one. Just that foil one. We have Lavinia? Lavinia. Now, there we go. Lavinia of the 10th. 4/4/4/5. Protection for red. The biggest thing that I like about her is the fact that she has Pro Red. Whenever she enters the battlefield, attain each non-land permanent your opponent controls with converted mana cost 4 or less. Really, really interesting and very promising. Then we have a foil Ceruli Gatekeepers, and then is a Guildgate. So only one Shockland out of this box, but that's alright because we pulled some really awesome stuff. A lot of foils, 2 foil rares. We got Ral out of here, some mythics, and overall I think it's a pretty solid box. Voice of Resurgence is really awesome too. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe for more Magic the Gathering content. Peace out, guys.